Hey, what's going on, guys? Joshua Spotchik here again. Check out the music and check out the aquarium videos. So today I'm going to be doing some water changes, and I'm going to show you all the system that I use, that I've just always used now instead of 5-gallon buckets, and the cheaper version of it. And then I'm going to be doing a custom aquarium divider build. I have a really big tank here, and I'm trying to introduce some new fish and move another flower horn over. And this tank boss, or at least he was when I had bought him in the tank that he was in, hasn't been very receptive. So I'm going to make a divider, and then I'm going to show y'all what I also use to clean my media and stuff like that. So stay tuned. All right, so just to get into what I use for water changes, I used to do 5-gallon buckets forever. It's a pain in the butt, and when you're a disabled veteran like me, your back starts to hurt. So I went over and kind of looked into like different options. There's always like the gravel vac and stuff like that. I try not to disturb my substrate, and I like to leave it as natural. And like, if you have good water parameters and all the biology is right, that substrate will do its job. So what I like to use is, I normally do a 25 to 50% water change depending on what parameters I get when I test my water. One of the greatest things I've used, and probably will always use, is the Python water adapter. And it's just a fancy word. All they did was, there's actually a gardening version of this, and all it is a two-way adapter. So it's a T. You hook this end up to your faucet, and water comes down, and there's a collar. And so if you close the collar, closes the valve, water coming from the sink goes into your tank or your inlet hose. Now this same hose right here that you hook up, you don't got to spend 50-60 bucks on this if you don't want to. You can buy this for like 6 to 12 bucks at Walmart, and it's blue, and it's for gardening. And you can buy literally a gardening hose, and it does the same thing. Instead of spending like $116 for a 100-foot system. So yeah, and then you just open it up, and the water goes down, pulls the vacuum, pulls the water out of your tank. And that's what I use. It works really great. And then yeah, I mean, it's better than 5-gallon buckets, you know. So now we're going to hop in to this water change and media cleaning, and then we'll hop into this divider build. So almost any time I do a water change, I clean my filter media. So in here I have some of that Marine Land filter floss and a cartridge. Again, I'm not really fans of the cartridge, but I do use them sometimes. So I normally just get them all, open up all my lids, look at, you know, if they need to be changed or not. This one I'll probably change. And I normally just put them all in a bucket, and I go outside. There's a lot more pressure in a garden hose, and I don't have to get my kitchen sink dirty, and I'll just spray them out. We'll come over here and look at this other one on this housing tank. So this one's actually pretty dirty. So I just go around, and any one or any of the ones that I'm doing a change on, I just leave the lids off. And the ones I'm not, obviously I leave on. And then I'll come over here. I have a hospital tank. If y'all don't know what that is, everyone should have a hospital tank. So this one's actually pretty dirty. We'll end up cleaning that one out. And essentially all a hospital tank is when I buy fish from any store, which me personally, I won't ever buy from Petco, PetSmart. I just don't have great faith. And you know, there hasn't been a time I've walked into Petco and there hasn't been at least 10 dead fish in a tank. And I don't know if that's just because they don't care or what, but any state, every freaking Petco, every PetSmart I've been in, there's been dead fish. I've gotten ick. I've put in fish in a tank, they've died, or all my fish have died. And it only happens when I buy from those two stores. So not to downplay on them, I think they're great stores for pet supplies, just not fish. When you go to like Pet Zoo, or like San Antonio Fintiques, they're all what a fish store and fish room should look like. Every aquarium you're buying from is an individual aquarium, and you know, you have a bunch of 10 gallons, 20 gallons, 40 gallon housing tanks, individual species, individual fish, and that limits all this sickness and illness. When you go to PetSmart or Petco, all this water's essentially getting pumped through one freaking pump because they're, you know, saving power, saving filtration. They don't want to have all these individual HOB filters to clean. And because of that, if there's ick in a tank, there's ick in all the tanks. So I don't normally buy from them. But one thing I do is when I buy a fish, I don't use the water in the bag. So like this tiger shovel-nosed catfish, I'll put them in a net. I'll pour the water out in the sink. You don't really have to rinse them off because you don't want to affect the slime coat that's on them. Not that it will, but it could. And then what I do is I float them for 30 minutes. And what I mean by that is I literally float them. And that allows for them to get adjusted to the water temp that they're going into. Mind you, also, the pH that's in that bag is a different pH in this tank. The water parameters, the bacteria, everything in that water is different than in your aquarium. And now you're mixing a bunch of stuff, which is not very healthy. Not to say it is going to screw you over, but there's a very high probability and highly likelihood that it will if you use that water. Get into that water changing I was talking about. Right now I'm emptying this out, so it's easy. You put it in your tank, turn the sink on. And I'll probably, because this is a really big tank, I'll probably take 25% out, about 40-ish gallons, and then we'll fill it back up. I'm trying to think of what else. This aquarium divider, you can buy custom dividers made out of like screen mesh or whatever, or acrylic, and they're really expensive, especially if you're new in the hobby, and they don't always work, and they use suction cup stuff. What I like to do is I get some polyurethane plastic or vinyl plastic for like flooring, and some egg crate, or just the egg crate, depending on the size of your fish. And I'll do some measurements. I'll measure in here, and then I will cut that, and I just go to Petco, and like I said, they're great for pet supplies. And you know, you got here Lee's aquarium and pet products, and they're just suction cups. And now these are normally used for aquarium tubing, to hook your aquarium tubing in. I'm using them for something different. Then you go to Lowe's, spend 20, 40, 50 bucks, whatever, on Duralens. So you can use this clear stuff, and it's very flexible, very easy to work with, and you can cut it and use it for like aquarium lids. My favorite thing is the egg crate. You just get some wire cutters, clip that up, and you can make aquarium lids out of that if you don't want to spend a bunch on glass tops. Most of my tanks are the Aquarium glass lids, which I love, but they can be pricey, anywhere from 50, 60 bucks just for a 40 gallon. So with that, you can do a lot more custom things. Like I have multiple HOB filters here and other wires and stuff, and a glass lid's not really going to fit that or accommodate that. So we'll get into that, and then we're going to go over to cleaning some filter media. So back again, I was going to do the video on cleaning filter media, but it is Alaska here. It's a little cold outside, at least for me. I'm Texas blood. So I went and cleaned it, and we'll do like a before and after. But essentially that filter floss, that Marineland, I really like because it's very easy. I got a bunch of pieces here, and you can cut it. You can make it to whatever media size you need. I have some smaller pieces here, just clean, and I use the garden hose with a jet, you know, setting, and it cleans it right out. Some bigger pieces in here, so I really like it. It lasts a really long time, and I clean my HOBs maybe every like week and a half, or every other week. Nothing crazy. I'll use this tank as a setup. I have a really big flower horn in here, and I'm also doing the tank divider in here, but right now it's pretty murky. Just had a lot of problems with it, so ran some pH. I do have a imbalance, so probably get some more filtration, get some more beneficial bacteria in here. And then I'll put that filter floss in, because that I do not have in this tank. All my other tanks have filter floss except for this one, and we'll do a before and after. So you can see this one's pretty cloudy, and we'll go from there. So I'm going to set these up, and then we're going to get into the divider build. Alrighty, so I went ahead and measured this aquarium, and I'm probably going to go with about a 25-inch depth, just to accommodate for where I'm putting this egg crate on the substrate to divide it. And then this piece worked out perfectly as far as width goes. It's the exact width I need. Some of the things you're probably going to need: some pliers. I would not recommend scissors just because of the brittleness of egg crate. You want something that's going to have some tension at the tip, and it's going to be very quick and smooth. So we'll use that. Sharpie, a marker, whatever, just to make marks. A tape measure. I like to use a very fine file, just in, so I'm not rubbing glass or anything, especially when I put these suction cups on. It's not going to be perfect. You can make it perfect, but you definitely don't want stuff scratching your aquarium glass. So probably going to end up measuring here, clipping, and then we'll go ahead and put it in and see what it looks like. So be right back. So I got my egg crate placed in the aquarium, measured it, turned it up. And again, you'll see how dirty this tank is. And this is the only one I don't have filter floss in. So got some filter floss in there, and we'll give it maybe 3-ish, 4 hours, and we'll come back. This stuff works great. Marineland did a pretty good job at building that material. So I'm going to come in here. We'll probably end up trimming this stuff off. And then I have those suction cups that I'm going to put on here. And I'm going to use this as temporary housing for this shovel-nosed tiger catfish. And we'll see what happens. So got the egg crate in there. Again, this is for like aquarium tubing and stuff. And you can cut into the egg crate and actually make it last on there. But for the purpose I need it for, I'm not using it like that. But got this tank divided. Got this flower horn over there. Got the other fish over here. And we'll wait for this tank to clear up and check it out later. Got this flower horn over here. So he's doing pretty good. And we have this tank set up with all the babies, the 2 breeding pairs. So stay tuned on that. And probably show some more aquariums later on, once we get some better equipment, have some better creation content and things of that nature. But cool beans. Stay tuned.